I am so delighted to introduce you to today's guest. Jackie Brubaker is someone that you will leave inspired, smiling, and wanting to sing like a Disney princess. But when we first met, it's like, that person that you meet that you're just immediately drawn to their light and you want to know everything about them and just hang out with them. That is how I would describe Jackie. So it's such an honor to have her today. She is a multi-talented storyteller. She is an entrepreneur, a coach, the creator and host of Love You Even More, a podcast that helps women navigate relationships, self-worth, and life transitions. She's also a writer and a producer who's turned her experiences into creative, meaningful projects. She's also a makeup artist, a vocalist, and an actress, and all the things. You will get to hear all about Jackie and why she was perfect to share her story for today's episode. Welcome, Jackie.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. I feel very emotional now that I just heard about who I am.
You're all the things. Like, there's Jack and Jill of all trades, but like, you are the Jackie of all things.
That's right. Thank you. That will be my first book, Jackie of All Trades. I've actually coined it before.
Yes.
No, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that beautiful intro. Yeah, I do a few things. I do a few things.
Well, I want to start there. I want people to know all about you. Where did you grow up? And how did you get on this journey to tell stories and inspire people to feel better inside, but also help make the world a better place?
Well, of course, the origin story is a little bit sad and a little bit dark, but it does get a little bit happier towards the end, as all origin stories do. I'm from LA proper. So my dad's side of the family has been in Los Angeles proper from like the gold rush era. Like
Oh,
we
I
we
didn't
had
know.
orange groves, like we've been here for a very hundreds of years. And then my mom's side is from New York proper and many generations on the East Coast. So I'm a very bi-coastal baby. But I grew up here in LA. My mom was in the entertainment industry as a makeup artist, and my dad was an entrepreneur. So
Mhm.
I very much followed in both of their footsteps. I knew at a very, very, very young age that I was a singer and a performer. It was hard to pull me off the coffee table as I wanted to sing to everyone at every time they came over. I actually, as a little kid, went to go see a production of Annie and stood up on my own chair and sang to Daddy Warbucks,
Shut up.
like, just didn't care. And he sang right back to me. And like,
Shut up.
poor Annie on stage is like, cool, thanks. I
Oh
guess
my
I'll just
God.
say, yeah.
I
So
wish
I
they had
knew,
cell phones back then for the footage.
I know, me too. So it was very clear my dad's side is very musical. Everybody sings, plays piano, reads music. It's just very creative. So is my mom's, tons of artists. It's just a lot of art and then a lot of like engineering and like stuff like that. So I just knew I wanted to do Broadway as a kid. There was no question about it. It was, I want to go to dance class. I want to go to acting class. I was just training as a vocalist, and singing has always been my strongest talent. But then when I could start writing, like, I'm not kidding, like, as I started to learn to write, I was writing
Mm.
little mini novels and just knew I was going to be a creative person. So that was really it. There was no sports, there was no extracurricular activity that didn't involve the arts. And I was very lucky to be so supported by my family to do this, which is very, very unusual. Most people and most kids don't get the kind of support of like, no, 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 go do it, go do it. We believe in you. Most just don't have the luxury of that. So I was, producing plays and doing all the things like as a little kid.
Um,
And I got into high school and I went to this amazing kind of performing arts school in LA. And it was very, very known for its show choir. For any of those who know what show choir is.
Glee.
Well, actually, speaking we were the choir. So there's multiple choirs at my old high school. The top choir, which of course I was in, I mean,
I love you.
obviously, was the inspiration for Glee. Like Ryan
Shut
Murphy.
up. But of
Mhm.
course.
Of course, he came to see us perform and was like,
Oh my God.
"What the hell is this?" And we were on Oprah. It was
Oh
a
my God.
big
I'm
deal.
going down a Google rabbit hole like
Yeah.
you do not believe.
Yeah. So it was a very big deal to be in this school, to be doing this program. And my whole life revolved around like rehearsal and choir and competitions and performing and just constant, constant. And I was training to go to hopefully NYU or Juilliard or something like that. I wanted to go to New York and study theater and audition and do Broadway. Like that was it, one track mind. And I was having the time of my life. And this is where the dark part comes in. And don't mind me if I get a little emotional. It's been a very big weekend, and you'll know
Mhm.
why in just a second. So I was very young and I was just a goody two shoes, which honestly,
I understand.
yeah, I mean, if you look at me, it's not like you're thinking I'm the bad girl. Like I'm the goody two shoes. I really am. And I'm not partying. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing drugs. I'm like, I just want to go to rehearsal. Super dork. And I like had a little crush on the piano player for our choir who was like 10 or 11 years older than me. And I just thought, oh, he's so cute, whatever, la la la. But what ended up happening was that I ended up being groomed as a child by him. And so around 17, we did have a physical relationship for, one day. And it got out
Oh
and he
wow.
lost his job. But it was in the time, and I'm going to so age myself right now, but it was in the time of like Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton, and everything that was going down with that was very similar to what was going down with me. So I like came to school one day and this piano guy is just gone. And I'm like, oh, where's so and so? And everyone looked at me like they knew something I didn't. And I'm like, what's going on? And it was devastating because the choir director, who was well into her 50s, if not 60, used me as the scapegoat
Wow.
so that she wouldn't get fired. And what's interesting is that I never actually put that together until this weekend.
Oh
And the
wow.
only reason, yeah, the only reason this came about was that I went to go see this sort of annual show that they put on at my high school with all these show choirs. And I have friends who work there now who like are part of the choir and it's a big deal. And I've been sort of like making my way back into like reapproaching these choirs, but it's been very like slow and steady. And it's a very traumatic thing for me because I was truly outcasted. Like once the rumor of, oh, I got this guy fired because I'm a quote slut or something was so backwards to what had actually happened that I just felt like I had no voice. I felt that, which is ironic for a singer,
Mm.
voice. I couldn't speak up for myself. Nobody believed me. And I was like, no, I'm in love with him. Like, why is he gone? Like, what happened? And there was so much happening behind the scenes with the choir director and my parents. And there was no protection of me. I think my parents were trying to protect me, but I don't think that they really knew what to do. And
Yeah.
no one was explaining anything to me. So I just kept going to school
Wow.
deeply, deeply depressed. And having to go to competitions, and I would see this guy there because
Oh
he
my gosh, you're such a badass.
thinks I did not see it that way. I was like falling apart. I mean, I look back and think, why didn't we have me on medication? I could have really used something at that point. But I just kind of went through. And so I left my school to go to college early because I was done with my classes. I was like, okay, bye. Nobody's talking to me. I'm just going to leave. And I went to college early and went into the music industry because I thought I, I can't continue down like the musical theater path because I would run into this man at auditions
Oh.
for other shows. It
Yeah.
was like I couldn't escape him. So I went into the music industry, had a full career there, had albums, was signed, but this part of me that never got to be what I wanted to be finally came up much, much later. I'm talking decades later. And that's when I really started to process just the beginnings of what actually happened to me. And this was a few years ago, at least, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that I started to really understand. But again, like I never saw myself as someone that was used as a scapegoat to save other adults' asses, essentially.
Yeah.
And to know that that's how powerful I was as a
Mm.
17-year-old was kind of incredible to understand this weekend, to sit back and be like, wait a minute, wait a minute. I was so scary and powerful to these adults that they were afraid they were going to lose their jobs because clearly they had messed up, that they're going to use me to save themselves. And the reshuffling that had to happen was so intense. I can see the domino effect of what would have happened if my choir director had been fired and if everything had like fallen apart. This whole program would have fallen apart. And that was so many people's happiness, so many children in choirs happiness, and it would have all been like my fault. Can you imagine how much worse I would have felt had that happened? So I truly believe the universe is always working for our benefit, even if it's extremely difficult and we don't understand it completely. Hindsight is always 2020, and that's the thing with extreme trauma is that it takes a while for our brains to sit back and be
Mhm.
like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, that story I had for so many years of what actually happened, like I was the bad guy and it was my fault and nobody likes me. I mean, that's a story that can bleed into the rest of your life, into everything you do, and cause a lot of other trauma, and which it had. And to come out of this weekend thinking, no, I was sort of dangerous almost. Of course, I wasn't actually dangerous, but I was kind of dangerous. And if I had only reframed it as you're so powerful, these people are trying to reshuffle and get you away so that you can go and, live the rest of your life and they can live the rest of theirs. I think I would have gone into the rest of my adulthood with a much better attitude of like my sense of worth. So, nevertheless, when we like think about our power and we think about how it's taken from us or given away or we give it away, I kind of did both. I found that my power was taken away and that I also gave it away because that sort of trauma is impossible when you're that young to like really understand. So it's really interesting to sit here and be like, I get to still sing. I get to still audition. I have an amazing agent who loves me. And it's a beautiful story of how we met. I am becoming a therapist where I get to
Wow.
help others. And I've coached people for years. I have a podcast where I get to like help others and bring on amazing guests to talk about things that obviously go ahead and help others. And so it's just, there are no accidents. Like there are absolutely no accidents to the way that our lives are played out. We may never understand certain things, or maybe years and years and years later, we might start getting little hints of, oh, maybe that was what was going on. But I'm really, really grateful to understand the power that I had then now.
Wow.
you know?
Hey, y'all, it's Terri. I believe in soul work that sticks. And that's why I've partnered with Lumenkind to create my very own mindful mark packs, Movement Maker, and the Great Me Set. Whether you're moving through a loss, leading a movement, or just need to hit pause with purpose, there's a mark for that. Head over to lumenkind.com and use Terri15 to get 15% off. Let's wear our intentions, have a mindful moment, and walk in purpose every day.
You're a brighter being, and I'm cheering you on.
Thank you for just being so vulnerable and authentic and sharing that with us. There's so many lessons to learn in that. And, I'm sure the people that are listening are just like me. I see a little bit of myself in that story,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
It's for those of us that were good girls, I was a virgin forever, but the first guy that I was serious about was very similar, groomed me.
Mm.
My mother called him the wolf,
Yeah.
because we thought he had a girlfriend lurking in the shadows. And I actually saw him on a Friday and was headed home to spend Labor Day with my parents. And, he told me that he was headed to Napa that weekend to get engaged. And I
Wow.
just had no idea, right?
Wow. Yeah.
But it's, I now look at it as it was protection.
Yeah.
You said the universe always has your back,
Mhm.
but it was absolutely protection. I was so into him at a time where I could have been partying, dating
Yeah.
tons of guys that I actually got into my own because I also graduated from college early and didn't date until after college, really. So it could have gone really different because, I maybe this is naive, but I know that person still cares about me in some fashion.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
at that like it was then, right? But I
Sure.
knew
Of
I
course
could
not.
call them
Yeah.
if I were ever in trouble, and
Yeah.
I have a really great cheerleader. But it's to the point that you were sharing. A lot of times we don't think about the compounded impact on those around us, right? Your friends lost a little bit of you at that moment. Your family lost a little bit of you in that moment. The little girl inside of you retreated just to get her
Yeah.
own bearings and to find the center of her way.
Yeah.
But, we've known each other. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So, for everyone listening, we met because someone introduced us for me to be on your podcast.
Mhm.
And then I was going through my own like rebirth. I went to LA for one of my birthdays. And at the time I was still married and hung out with you. And right before you and I recorded, I was going through old files. And for the first time since 2022, I found the recording of a birthday meditation I did the morning after I saw you.
Huh.
So it just appeared randomly, not in a folder in Dropbox. I am so meticulous about folders.
Oh, that was meant to be.
But it's so wild, right? But it's also, there are no coincidences. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. Um, I'm grateful that I'm on the other end of this, receiving just the beautiful gift that you have now, because you are showing up. And, I'm a huge fangirl, love the singing on Instagram. We got to make sure people go there. Many days it puts a smile on my face, but you're still doing all the things you love at a maybe ordered differently. So
Mhm.
now you can receive that gift, as it
Yeah.
was intended, as your fullest and best self. And
Yeah.
you're like about to graduate from school to become a therapist. So
Yeah.
when you might have not had help in high school, you can be that help for that next girl, right?
Yeah.
At
That
the time,
just
she doesn't need it, but
oh,
you're
yeah.
ready.
That there I have such a soft spot for teenage girls and girls in their 20s. I think it's very interesting. I've never had, well, I have fur babies, one of which is being very adorable right now. But I didn't have kids, and I don't think at this point I'm going to, which is okay. But I have such a maternal instinct, and I think that we get to be mothers in all kinds of ways. And I really think that the way that I will be a mother in a lot of ways is by helping girls that are younger who just need that therapist or that mentor that is just who really, really gets it. It's a very difficult time when you're growing up. And a lot of people, either had a really good teenagehood somehow and they're like, oh, I forget. But I like remember mine very clearly. And so I have this, I think I have a unique perspective to younger women who are going through some hard times. And I am so happy to be able to give that back. And I actually hope that I get to work with the choirs as
Aw.
as a coach, you know? I think that that could be a really nice next step and just volunteer my time. But, what's interesting about you seeing the guy that you had that relationship with and he was going to Napa, my person, the piano guy, it wasn't like anything bad happened between us. It wasn't like he was a jerk to me or anything like that. And I think that's why I had a really hard time understanding what happened because had I just been in college, it probably would have been very different. But I was just not legal and I was a teenager and I just didn't have the brain yet to like understand exactly what was going on. And, you know, oh gosh, maybe like 10 years later, maybe less, I forget. He kept reaching out on Facebook and
Oh,
Facebook still
wow.
felt, yeah, I know. I was like, leave me alone. Like, seriously, it's done. Like, fine. And we didn't leave on bad terms. I did see him during college and, we left on normal terms, but he wanted to get in touch to apologize. And we
Oh,
did. We met for a coffee and he just it was so most people don't get this, but I'm so grateful that I got it. He was like, "I just wanna tell you how proud I am of you,
oh my
and
God.
you were doing everything so right. Like, you are doing all these multiple things, and, like, that is, like, the way to do it." Which is ironic because as a teenager, he's like, "Just pick one thing and do it really, really well." So that, like, stuck in my head, and I was like, "But I don't just do it." But for him to like say that felt like my little girl self was like, thank you. I needed that. But he was just so proud. He's like, I am just so proud of you. And you were so talented and become such a beautiful woman. Like, I just want you to know how sorry I am for everything. And he really apologized. And now he's not perfect. He's just not. And neither am I. But I really needed that. I
Yeah.
needed that gift. And I'm really grateful to have gotten it. Obviously we're not in communication. It was like a one-time thing, but it was nice to know at least that part of that story was always completed.
Yeah.
And I think it's really nice when we do have the closure that we need, at least in one area of it. I feel like the closure that I've needed has really been coming for a few years now, but especially this weekend was just, I mean, you're really catching me at an
No,
amazing time.
and also, like, I am recording this pilot season before they will be released, right? Like, I don't have a date when this will be released, but we are in the middle of Venus retrograde.
Uh-huh. Yes, we
When
are,
your
girl.
exes return to you in some form or fashion to
Yep.
remind you of the lessons that you learn and how you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
So
You're
once again, you're being reminded that you're loved, protected, and supported.
yeah. And I think our exes are not just romantic exes.
Right. Oh, amen.
They're friends, their family, their work relationships come back around and they're like, hi, you
Yeah.
know? But I mean, it is really just a beautiful Venus retrograde. First of all, if it's a Venus retrograde when this airs in the future, don't cut your hair or do any cosmetic procedures right now. It's not a good time. Not a good time. So just hold off. But no, it's a really good time to think about the past and to like let it come into your brain and like process more and just to be able to like release it with love and appreciation. And I really felt like I got to just be appreciative of all of those hard lessons, but also appreciative of the people from my past that, I always thought, oh, everybody kind of hates me. I guess I'll just keep that story in my head for the rest of my life. But I had people that I haven't seen in 20 years come up to me at this show over the weekend at my high school. And they were like, hey, what's going on? And like, as if no time had passed whatsoever. I mean, one girl was like, I want to introduce you to someone. I think he'd be perfect for you. I was like, what? I haven't seen you in like 20 years. Oh
Aw.
my God. And it was just, it can be normal. Like your trauma can be normalized. It's not overnight. It takes a lot of work, but it can be okay. And I was talking to my mom before I even went into that show. I was like, why do I keep going back to the scene of the crime? I just want to be done with this. But I think it's because I needed to really get it all. And maybe there's more to be got, but
Yeah.
it's just to, I think as a woman, I mean, women, it is so hard to be powerful with other people saying stuff or projecting stuff onto you or making you feel a certain way. And there's so many ways for us to lose our power. Like, I mentioned earlier, but to just understand that we have so much power regardless of who we are and what we do. We can show up and like come with integrity and authenticity and really shine our lights and be authentically us with no fucks given. Sorry if you're not allowed to
Oh
swear here.
no, I want to get
Yeah.
to all the fucks you would like.
Okay. With no fucks given. And people will be attracted to that. And that's why it's so great to just be like, be really who you are, like be the Disney princess that I really am. Like, that's a part of me. There's also a part of me that's a badass. Those two can coexist in the same person. But like, just be you because the more you are, the more your people will just be there. Like you, like, you're so sweet. You're like, I'm a fangirl. I'm like, oh my God, really?
How
And that
could you
means
not?
that means a lot to me because I really have this old story of like, oh no, like nobody remembers me or nobody likes me or whatever because of what happened in the past. So it's a journey.
Uh, well, we talked about your roots, and I really want people to understand that rebirths happen. And sometimes we have multiple rebirths. I can count
Yeah.
3 off the top of my head for myself.
Mhm.
But what was that moment where you knew Jackie was going to be okay? And it was that rebirth. What opened the door for you just to walk very strong and proud and own all of you, the princess and the badass?
I think it was during the lockdown. I
Mm.
was like, what if I just sort of just put a song out on YouTube and sang a song from Hamilton? What would happen? Because while I had a music career, it wasn't musical theater. It wasn't jazz. It was like pop,
Oh my
country. It
God, I've
was
got to
so
find this.
it's on iTunes. You can find it. It's all on Apple Music. It's there. Um, but yeah, it was so opposite of me because I was running away from who I was. I was reinventing myself multiple times over and over. I'm a Scorpio, so the death and the rebirth is very real within my life. There's lots of rebirths. of it. The phoenix goes up and then she goes down. But I was making all this really good music that I'm very proud of but I wasn't being myself. So when I finally was like, okay, I'm done with the music career, like, let's just reassess. And during lockdown, I was like, what if I actually sang what I'm good at? And also what I love? What if I just did me? And that is when people started to notice because you can pretend to be something that you're not till the like forever, right? You can really just be like, no, I'm going to copy whatever, Carrie Underwood. I'm going to be Carrie Underwood. But you're not. Because Carrie Underwood is Carrie Underwood.
I will
She's,
take her legs though.
I mean, all day long. Girl's beautiful. But like, that is who she is. And I was like, I just want to be me. Because what I noticed when I did have a music career, my albums were coming out and they weren't really doing anything. And I'm like, but these are good songs. Like, what is going on? It was literally that I was just not in line with who I am. I was just being somebody else, making good music that would have been better for somebody else. And I would always say that. I'm like, I hope that these songs go to somebody else who's like a better fit for them. I knew it wasn't for me. So when I like decided to sing Burn from Hamilton during lockdown and put it out, I put it on Pinterest actually.
Oh wow.
It it did so well on Pinterest. It was just all these people are like, "Oh my God." I was like, "What? Wait, what?" So it was really weird. And then I was like, "Okay, maybe I'll put another song." And then I put like a Disney song and it just kind of like started showing people on social media, like, hey, this is actually who I am. And everyone's like, I had no idea you could sing like that. And a lot of people were like, I didn't even know you sing,
Oh my gosh.
which is an interesting phenomenon that I had for a long time, is that I was kind of, there's a way to make yourself invisible while still being visible. And I think that's when we're not aligned with who we are. We become invisible even when we're trying to be visible, but
Yeah.
it's not us, right? So it's like a mask of who we are, and people don't really see it because it's not vulnerable and it's not believable. So you're just kind of invisible. And once I just became visible and myself, it made a huge difference. And that's how I started moving along and getting like all these opportunities and my
Yeah.
agent, and like everything just started moving in the right direction with musical theater finally.
Well, well, and I think people get confused at times because you can be invisible, because as you said, you're not being authentic and you're not in alignment with the legacy you want to leave behind and how you want to move in the world, but it can still look successful. You
Oh, yeah.
It's on iTunes. You are still getting songs, right?
Oh,
I know that so clearly from my own life, even in lobbying. Some of the biggest campaigns, like I worked on the country's the largest soda tax, Those Who Love Diet Coke Don't Kill Me, but it successfully passed. But that campaign didn't feel authentic because I was doing it someone else's way, a way that
yeah.
I was told to do it. But when
Yeah.
I began to lobby with my swagger and impact first and also relationships first,
Yeah.
things then began to take off for me. And so and I, quite honestly, if I were being very transparent, I'm giving a talk tomorrow and it's just in my head, I was stuck. And it's like I didn't want to write it. I couldn't write it. I couldn't do the PowerPoints. Nothing was coming easy. And it was because I wasn't fully in alignment with myself. So
Mhm.
I, took a TV timeout, went to Soho House for a little meditation last week. And
Lovely.
that's when the download came. And it was like, just don't write it. Like
Hmm.
maybe just work on the PowerPoint and the thoughts will come, which is more in alignment for me. So I'm going to try that for the first time tomorrow.
That
Um,
would be great.
did extemporaneous speaking in high school, so may those princesses and goddesses travel with me tomorrow.
I love it. Just call on them. Call on them.
Yes. I started yesterday in the shower, actually. But switching gears to spirituality, I have loved just following you. You have this deep connection. I think it's with two or three other women where you guys are educating people on what it means to be spiritual, leading them through different practices. And in all of your pictures, I am going to come to something, but in all of your pictures, you can just feel the light inside of you. And even talking to you now, like your insides are so calm and like your soul is just so full. Like, I can even feel it in a very different way. So I want to hear, like, what is the work that you all are doing and how did you get to a place of, finding these incredible beings and you deciding to do, this incredible journey and life's work together?
Yeah. So Sacred Sisters is this group of women. It's myself, Christine Bautista, and Lochi. The three of us found each other. Well, Christine and I have known each other for like 20 years now. We like grew up together, and we met in TV, and we just we always like laughed together, which is so wonderful to have a friend that you're just constantly laughing with. I feel like each friendship is very different, and she and I are just like laughing friends, but we can also dive really, really, really deep. And we're both very deeply spiritual in our own ways. And so for years, we were like, we kind of want to start something that is like a group of women or something. And we were trying to put it together. And then she met Lochi, and Lochi does yoga and sound baths. And so we created this like sound bath experience where we usually bring a guest in to like talk about something spiritual. We do the actual sound bath, and then I'll do like intuitive readings at the very end. And it is a beautiful, I mean, the pictures are exactly what it's like. It is a beautiful experience. Like, not only is it just your eyes are closed during the sound bath, but if you were to open them, there's all these beautiful colored lights, and like it just feels like you're kind of in the universe, which is kind of what we want. We want you to feel like you're expanding.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting. I don't think I'd ever been to a sound bath before ours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
I mean,
incredible.
no, wait, I had once, but it was very forgettable, clearly. But our sound baths, and I don't actually do any of the singing bowls. I'll sing with the singing bowls,
Oh, what a treat.
which is so interesting because
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like channeling a melody because songwriter. I was a songwriter for so long. I'll just channel like a melody. But what's interesting is that what channels through is very Celtic.
Mm.
Just fascinating. I'm just thinking maybe that's either some lineage
Yeah, we
or
need to know about your
like
past lives.
or my past life. Pretty sure it was more that. And I'm like, gosh, why do I just sound like a Celtic woman, like calling her husband home from a long journey? Like, okay. So, um, and then yeah, it's really beautiful and it's really cool. We'll do it in different spots. Either it's like yoga studios or aerial houses or gong shops. We've done it in like a gong shop where the whole place is vibrating. It's
Oh,
just so intense. Like sound baths, especially too, if you're highly sensitive to just being intuitive and just your intuition, you get so many downloads
yeah.
and you are just like gone. You're just kind of out of your body. And sometimes they're so intense. I'm like, is it over? Can it end? I'm done. My body's like, oh. So it's really beautiful to work with these women. And I'm such a huge advocate for women in general. I love the men. Don't worry, guys. I like you too. You know, but like coming together with women is such, I mean, that's why it's called Sacred Sisters. You know, it is a sacred place for us to come together to just cry and to laugh and to have all the feelings and emotions. And it's a beautiful place to be vulnerable.
Hi, it's me, Terri. You know, transformation doesn't happen by accident. It's a daily practice. And Best Self Co. gives you the tools to live with purpose. From guided journals to productivity decks, every product is designed right in my hometown of Austin, Texas, to help you dream bigger, reflect deeper, and take aligned action. Visit Best Self Co. and use the code Terri for your special percentage off. Your next breakthrough starts with one small step, and today is a beautiful day to begin.
Oh my gosh, we have talked about so much. We have talked about trauma, we've talked about just becoming more and more aligned with your life and the legacy you want to leave behind. And now we're talking about finding soul sisters and sharing those gifts with others. I feel like we've gone through so many just different conversations today. And like, so if you have this many lives, Jackie, I can't even imagine how much we learn about in a past life regression.
I know.
Well, I want to know when you do it.
I will. I'm going to absolutely
But
let you know.
so what does the future hold for you? You are ever evolving, ever learning, and ever sharing. So what does your gut say today?
My gut in this moment, because yes, things are always evolving. And I feel like your intuition only gives you so much of the future to see. Sometimes it's really clear. Sometimes it's like, I have no clue what you're trying to show me. But I think in this moment, I'm very excited to become a marriage and family therapist next year. I'm very excited about this. This is something I've wanted to do since I was in college. I just waited till I was wise enough and like knew some stuff and I was ready. This wasn't a hasty thing. I think that I am so honored to host my podcast and please go listen. Maybe we'll do a joint podcast, this and this one.
Yes, it's so much fun.
that I'm growing the podcast. I'm excited to see that continue to grow and morph into what it's going to be. I'd really like to see that with my social media presence as a therapist grow. I think there's a lot that I want to help and say, and I really see that growing into something even bigger and more beautiful.
Mhm.
I also think that with all the epiphanies I had this weekend, I really see myself producing plays or producing musicals or
Wow.
producing my own work instead of waiting for someone to choose me from an audition. I really see that as the future of most artists these days. I think it's more about what are you creating and putting out there versus waiting to be chosen. So I can see myself maybe, doing that. I certainly have more books in me, one of which is being written. So that
No.
will be another novel about past lives, by the way.
Well, I need an advanced reader copy.
Yes, for sure. You'll be a beta reader. Um, yeah. And I really just want to travel. So that's my personal thing. I just really want to travel and just spend time with people all over the world and all over this country. And that's it. That's what I see so far.
Yeah, I love it. I love all of it. I just want to hold space for you because we started talking about how, it might have felt like you gave away your power, but you were so powerful. Everyone around you shuffled so that you could, keep moving and walking, right? But
Yeah.
as you laid all of that out, you have somehow found a way to hold your power and to turn it into these passion projects to kind of live your wildest dreams. And girl, we haven't even talked about you in the cupcake show.
Oh, Lord. I know. It's
Like
like
on the what cupcake show where you won the bake off or something? Like,
I did. I won Cupcake Wars, like
like
by accident. Not by
all the
accident, but
things.
it was
Jackie
a
of all the
fluke.
things.
We'll do a two-parter. Yeah, I've done a lot of things.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today, sharing your heart and just being you. Like you are enough and you are bringing so much joy. And I can tell you that firsthand. So
Thank you.
keep the beautiful songs coming.
Thank you so, so much for having me. This was a beautiful experience. I'm just so glad that we got to make this happen.
Aw, yay.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast. You can find me at all things Terri Broussard Williams and movementmakercollective.com. Hey, y'all, hey. Now you know all this stuff, but before I go, a reminder, the content shared on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Okay, that's right. I am no professional. If you need a medical, mental health, or other professional support, please consult a qualified expert. Till next time, I'm cheering you on.